Sports betting is now in its, fourth month here in Ohio. You know, back in February, Ohio ranked second for the most wagers placed on the Super Bowl, of course. And as sports betting becomes more and more popular, experts are really concerned about a surge in problem gambling. So I'm joined here today by Dr. Gregory Stewart. He is an assistant professor of social work at our University of Cincinnati. Dr. Stewart, thanks so much for being here with me today. Listen, I want to talk about this because I do think we've done a lot of stories on the gaming that's going on, and a lot of people have fun with it, right? We're right in the middle of March Madness, and they place $10, and it's like a one-time-a-year thing that they do. But unfortunately, some of the figures out that impact problem gambling that we've seen here in Ohio are really startling. So talk to me about that.
And we had something new in January 1st, in that Ohio was one of the states that implemented sports betting. And so prior to that date, about 250,000 adults in the state had some identification of problem gambling. After that date, we saw a great indication in early January that some additional challenges were happening. And so in January of 2022, about 500 people called the hotline. This year, about 1,500 people called the hotline in January. So
tripled already.
Yeah, so starting out with some additional concerns there, and not making a judgment that gambling is good or bad, but making a judgment to be able to say if a loved one or you yourself have a problem that you may have concerns with, that there's help for that.
I've seen it in my family where, you know, someone who is very close to me, just, you know, it takes hold. It's so easy. You think you can manage this, and sometimes, unfortunately, when you've lost a lot of money, then you start making those bigger wagers, I should say, in hopes of recovering that loss, and that's where you start to see that ripple effect. Talk to me a little bit about what are some of the warning signs for problem gambling.
And you mentioned one, the idea that if someone had a particular loss, that they might think the very next day that they need to go back to whatever that experience was to possibly recover that loss. Or there are occasions when someone may be in a situation where they've spent the rent money or the mortgage money. May they be in a situation that they return to that gambling situation, so whether it be lottery or sports betting or horse racing, whatever it may be, and they continue to persist at that no matter the consequences that may be going on for themselves and possibly their families.
It really is scary, right? It's like any other addiction. It's like alcoholism, drug addiction, all of those things. I think for the person who's caught in the middle, it can be really uncomfortable. So are there ways where people can intervene, and how do you go about doing that?
And what we're saying is there's no shame in saying to someone, I need help. So that person that's finding themselves in a situation of having this challenge, seeing some concerns about what they may be doing, that they are willing to talk to someone about that. And so the state of Ohio has ramped up to do more with that. So the University of Cincinnati School of Social Work is thankful to the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services that we got a grant to do additional training for social workers this year in being able to do problem gambling treatment. So social workers do 60% of the mental health treatment in America, and so we're gearing up our social workers to be able to do more with treatment in this area.
I always say you guys are angels on earth, truly. The work you do, whether it's in a home or with this sort of work, really, saving lives sometimes. For somebody who's worried about someone in their house, that they're not acknowledging it, but they know that maybe their husband or their wife or their brother or mother have a problem. How do you get involved?
And what we're hoping that people are aware of is the hotline, and I know you're going to share that later in the broadcast, but the idea of calling that line and being able to get connected in what they call is a warm transfer. So the idea that if they call that line, they'll be connected to a facility wherever they are in the state of Ohio that someone could be helping direct them to further resources.
So this is not just for the person who maybe has the addiction, but a family member, anyone can call.
Anyone can call, because that may be the movement for that person who has a challenge to be able to do more and being able to talk about now what's going on.
Dr. Stewart, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. We've talked a lot about, gambling, of course, this year. And as I said, for some people, it can be a lot of fun, and it's that once a year, twice a year thing. But this is certainly a real issue. So again, we mentioned this number. If you or someone you know is perhaps struggling with problem gambling, all you have to do is call the Ohio Problem Gambling Helpline. Here's the number on your screen: 1-800-589-9966, 800-589-9966. And again, if you're concerned at all, do not hesitate to just pick up the phone. All right.